Well, greetings there, visitors to the paper prison. Is another visiting day. And today we've got a great set of original pencils to look at. Well, not originals, copies of pencils that I've collected over the years. But before we get started, just want to do a little housekeeping here. I'm sure for a lot of people listening to this YouTube show, you've probably wanted to say I should get a microphone, and I am working on that. I'm just looking for the best microphone for me for this podcast. I'm hoping that's just going to help with your listening enjoyment. So, why don't we get to it? As I said last time, we are going to be looking at some pencils from Rich Buckler from the Saga of the Submariner, which I really should look this up, but God, was it 1990? You know what? Oh wow, I just looked this up and oh, this is from 1988. Wow, these are kind of old. And for our historians in the crowd, while this is a book from 1988, it retells stories from both the Golden and Silver Age Submariner stories. Wow. Now, a lot of people want to call Buckler strictly a swipe artist, and yes, that is a kind of a earned reputation. Although, please remember, he was always asked, I think, to look like Kirby, look like Neil Adams. But I think this was a very interesting miniseries because I think we actually saw the most of Rich Buckler than we've ever seen. Now, speaking of him being a swipe artist, even when I was a little kid with no discernible taste in comic art, when I first saw his Deathlock series, and I was like maybe 10, um, even I could tell that there was something askew here, that there was something jarring about the art because I would see a John Buscema's drawing next to a Neil Adams drawing, next to a Jack Kirby drawing, next to one of his own drawings, and I could just feel it, even though I couldn't identify the styles or the artists. Yeah, he was, he was very new then, and he was just doing what he had to get the book out. But yes, that was probably his Deathlock series was probably the most jarring to me. Okay, so with that in mind, let's look at our first page, which actually is kind of out of order because I'm of the 4 pages I have here. This is the one I like the most because I think we see the most Rich Buckler in here. We start off with on the top tier left panel, we see who I'm pretty certain is who's going to be Namer's father, Roger Mackenzie, and I'm looking at this face and the face of the other sailor there, and that's not a John Buscema drawing. That's not a Neil Adams. I think that's all him. I do think I know Rich Buckler can draw. It's just some of the things he did was a little, kind of cast him in a bad light. So we go to the second panel, and again, a very well drawn figure. Again, I think some of this would not be called full pencils, but I also knew that Mr. Bob McLeod was going to be inking this thing, and he pulled it all together. Again, gosh, I wish I'd brought up the finished ink pictures to compare, but I am imprisoned now in just pencils, so we'll just have to keep with the theme of the show. All right, second panel. Okay, I think this is all Rich Buckler. This is a very well composed and lit image along down with the bottom panel, which again, when we speak about lighting, again, this may be not quite full pencils, but look at the way he's composing with blacks. Makes a framing device with this explosion, which I guess is really going to like mess up the Atlanteans down there, the Antarctic Atlanteans. Um, but everything's there. It's very well drawn. I hope you agree. Around this time when there was a rise of the very caricatured and expressive mode of drawing, maybe this may not have been like the hottest thing that editors were looking for, but man, does it read well? You know what you're looking at. So now going back to the people who like old style or old stories from the golden and silver age. This to me is very interesting as we go to our next page, as this is the history of Atlantis, which was told in an issue of Fantastic Four. Now this is the story being redrawn, but not in the style of Kirby. So I find this very interesting, whereas if he was doing Fantastic Four, the swipes of it would have been oh so obvious, oh so pointed. Uh, at the top, yeah, you could say that's just like out of maybe Conan, but this is from, I know this is swiping from that story in Fantastic Four that retold Namer's origins, starting with the Atlanteans. Uh, second tier, first panel. Oh, that's a great picture of like a Viking boat, but trying to get out of there as Atlantis sunk. The next panel is, great drawing of, poor Atlanteans going down with the ship, or in this case, the island. And final panel, I don't know if that's supposed to be a survivor or just a witness to the destruction, sinking of Atlantis. This is all great stuff. All right, next page, top tier. Okay, we have a little more of the destruction. I guess we're going to uh, the passage of time when they evolve into water breathers, although how that quite works, I don't know. Second tier, first panel. Uh, I can't remember what's going on here unless it's just showing the passage of time. And then we have the third panel in the second tier. We have a water breather, swimming around, or are they? Oh, I wonder if this is just humans, diving to get coral or something. And then on the bottom tier, fourth panel, we have a water breather, looking, seeing what are you guys doing? But all I want to say is again, I think this is Buckler's actual pencils. I think, let me say that again. This is Buckler's actual style. This is really great drawing. That's in that middle tier, that forearm on that swimmer. That's great. Yeah, there's a little bit of John Buscema in here, but I think it's really all Buck. It's not swipes. Okay, and in our final panel here, I definitely remember this being from that Fantastic Four story, retelling the origin of the Atlanteans, and then followed by the origin of Submariner. The top tier, this fish. I remember Kirby drawing that fish. I also am pretty certain Kirby did not draw a fish as nice as this. And we see the Atlanteans, like ancient cavemen hunting down woolly mammoths. We have underwater Atlanteans hunting down the giant fish. Bottom tier, more of the Atlanteans, um, evolving, domesticating giant seahorses and turtles. Again, from that story, these aren't, it's funny, the staging is Kirby, but the drawing is more like Buscema. Maybe that is what Buckler's style was at the time. 1988. These are older than I thought they were. And then the final panel in this bottom tier, again from that Fantastic Four story, we have the Atlanteans saluting each other as they start rebuilding Atlantis as an underwater kingdom. Well, I think these are all just great drawings, and I bought this. I bought the entire thing because I was a fan of Rich Buckler's work. I was a fan of what he did in comics, and I had to get it. And also, it was inked by Bob McLeod, so that was a good pairing. Some good pairing of artists. It was a fun book. This was a great sampling of artists. Next up, I've been saying who's going to come up next, but next up, I don't quite know who I want to be next. I've got so many pencils of so many different artists. I haven't decided which one I want to be the next one. Great samplings of pencils. I don't want to spoil the surprise right now. It might be Alan Weiss. I'll have to look at it again and see if I think that's the one I want to do next. I think it might be Alan Weiss. I can't remember who I've got next up on the docket. But I hope you're enjoying the pencils, and I was really surprised how old these pencils were. I swear I thought it was more like at least at the earliest 1990, if not 92. But, well, that's how memory plays tricks on you. Well, I want to thank everyone for dropping by, and I very much appreciate your visits in my solitude here in the paper prison. And I hope we'll see you next week, or maybe a little earlier if I can get my act together. So until next time, adios, muchachos. Take care.